Hi, this is Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters, and you're listening to the Alternate Route.
3, 2, 1.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen. It does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, ponderers of the paranormal and open-minded friends. You have found the Paranomaly Zone, the place for all things paranormal, unexplained, odd, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg. I am responsible for this mess, and I am joined by my co-host with the ghosts, the nasally Mike Carbno.
I'm trying.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I was going to call you the haunted Mike Carbno to, as a good segue intro to new listeners who have just discovered the Paranomaly Zone. But I couldn't help but acknowledging your sniffles and your sneezes and
Earlier.
You sound good right now. You sound good.
Cold, and it's just kind of like that lingering after whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, lovely! That was great. I think he just totally went. He made all of our listeners
Everybody,
go deaf.
you should have seen Patrick's face. His eyes. I mean, like they crossed and flickered a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. And I think to all new listeners, they just shut off about 5 seconds ago. So thanks for that.
I hope not.
No. But yes, this is the first official episode of the renamed podcast, formerly known as the Alternate Route podcast. Now we have refurbished it, Mike. We've renovated it. We've reestablished it. Well, we haven't reestablished it yet. We are going to. Now, the Paranomaly Zone. I think it perfectly encapsulates what this podcast is all about. And Mike,
get in the zone.
Don't do that again. You did that.
Get in the zone.
You did that on the special announcement episode last week, or
did I?
Or a couple days ago, whatever it was, and. Yeah, no.
Right to that car commercial.
Yeah, now
car parts store.
Thanks. Now I have the Auto Zone stuck in my head, and I do again. So I thank you for that. So
no,
appreciate it. I really.
It has nothing to do with auto parts.
No, it doesn't.
Like I did say before, I said I like to think of it as an homage to the Twilight Zone.
Very good. Yeah, I mean
yes.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
It absolutely, like I said, it encompasses everything that we're about here on the Paranomaly Zone, or I should say in the Paranomaly Zone.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to talk about ghosts? We do too. You want to talk about UFOs / aliens? Yeah, so do we. You want to talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Loch Ness, and any other cryptid you can think about? Hello.
Some type of conspiracy, some types of
mysteries. It's all out there. Oddities. I mean, anything.
If you want to share recipes for potions and tinctures, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I think Mike is interested in the tinctures part for whatever reason, but
depends on how you spell it.
Sure. But if this is the first time that you're checking this out, the Paranomaly Zone, as we mentioned before, we used to be called the Alternate Route Podcast, and if you happened to come across that podcast on Talk is Jericho on wrestling superstar / rock musician / actor, whatever the hell you want to call him, Renaissance man, Mr. Chris Jericho. If you happen to catch him talking to a silly group of people called the Alternate Route Podcast, hey, that was us. And that was back in 2019 when it was released, I believe. Yeah. And we can't thank him enough. Plans have been made and postponed 3 times since then.
Made, postponed, and made. And
4 hours.
Let's see. Are you going to be around Wisconsin at any time soon? Well, no, but we could try.
Well, yeah, we've had 3 times where we've been scheduled, and then we had to, for various reasons, postpone and reschedule to go back on his show. But you know what, man, we'll do whatever it takes to go back and appear on Mr. Jericho's podcast. Great guy and great exposure for us. Let's not beat around the bush on that one. So it's all good. It's all good. Ooh, I think Mike's about ready to implode. What the hell's happening to you right now? You were withholding
fizzies in my throat.
Okay, fizzies. The damn fizzies. So this episode, Mike, we're going to be diving into a passion of ours. We're just going to be talking all things ghosts. That's what got us into this podcast.
It did.
You know,
before there was even a podcast.
Hey, yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. Mike and I have known each other since, well, shit, what, 15 years at least now, if not more.
Shortly after you got out of diapers, I believe.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I am only 19 years old. That's right. I forgot about that. But Mike and I met when we were working at an orthodontic laboratory, and we soon found out that
we were working in the lab late one night.
There you go. And we soon discovered that we had a passion, a shared passion for all things ghosts,
all things
paranormal. And I quickly became enraptured by Mike's personal history of hauntings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have got to
I made it all up.
Oh, okay. Oh, hey, the cat's out of the bag. The cat is out of the bag. Now, Mike, very briefly, because we have a lot to dive into, but for new listeners who are just discovering the Paranomaly Zone, give a brief rundown, man, of your life. I mean, I know you can't do that briefly, but
no. I'm almost 60 years old.
I know. I mean, it's impossible. But as far as like a paranormal rundown, I mean, I'll tell you right now, boys and girls, this guy is one of those people who has been followed his whole life, and that's no joke. And I felt like a little boy listening to his stories, back in the day. It's like,
you look like a little boy when you listen to my stories.
It's like, oh my goodness, so go on, Michael, tell me some more. Yeah, and I mean, so much so that we started our own, amateur paranormal investigation duo back in the day.
Patterned after, like how everybody, what else was at that time when ghost hunters came out and just took over the paranormal genre of television and activity, you know, and we wanted to do that. And we
did, sort of.
And we did it. We did it. We did a few things. Things could have taken off better, but we have revamped that also, and we are getting back into that again. We have recharged our batteries, and in fact, we are having a big road trip tomorrow.
I can't wait, man.
To do an
investigation.
Awesome investigation
at the allegedly haunted in several different ways Burgess Trails here in north central Minnesota. I'm going to be driving about an hour and 10 minutes. Mike's going to be driving about an hour and 50 minutes, and we're going to meet in the middle. And hopefully we don't get shot by any deer hunters out there on the,
no kidding.
The trails.
It started at like noon today, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure, but well, if anything, we'll be clad head to toe in bright orange.
Yeah,
so we'll scare all the ghosts away.
I'll wear my light colored scally.
There you go. So but back in the day, we did a few, again, very amateur investigations, but we did capture some pretty darn cool EVPs, and we'll play them again sometime down the road. We do have a Patreon page, by the way, everybody. Awesome content on there. We have 25 exclusive episodes on our Patreon page, including exclusive video episodes and some ghost investigation videos, some audio anomalies that we've shared and discussed and broke down, personal ones that we've captured. Lots of cool, fun stuff, and lots of cool, fun stuff to come.
Yes.
We'd love to see you guys there. As little as $1 a month. It's I think it's worth a
as
shot.
As
little as $1 a month. Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, don't make it sound like that's it. give us $1 a month and you got it. Because if you want to pay a little bit more, you certainly can.
Of course you can. Of course.
We will not fault you for any little amount.
Now,
I don't care if it was a quarter.
Same here. Now, Mike, briefly go into storyteller mode and tell our new
Okay.
listeners all about your haunted history.
Well, story mode.
You don't have to
I
go
saw
into
The
your
Exorcist
voice.
165 times, and oh wait, no, that's
Enough of that.
wrong
Enough
story.
of that.
Mhm.
Enough of that.
Okay,
Yeah, that was me.
that was him.
But anyway, it goes back further than my life. It's been generations, as long time listeners know.
Oh, that's right.
That was a little dingy.
A little dingy bell. Yep. I don't have my dingy button, but that's okay.
Yeah, my father, my grandmother, my great grandmother on my dad's side, very sensitive, strong believers and strong experiencers in the paranormal. And I was just the next in line for enjoying that paranormal lifestyle of seeing things, hearing things, living in haunted houses. Whether I just happen to, unconsciously choose places to live in that are haunted, or they follow me, I don't know. I think they kind of follow me, but started out as seeing the little girl as a young child. Every place I've lived in since then.
Clarify that one real quick. I mean, you didn't just see any random girl somewhere walking along the road. You're talking about a floating apparition of a girl.
Yes, it was a floating Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball.
That's right. I mean, he not only saw that, but he also saw a vision of the future. So that was, that was 40 years ago.
Yes, the chain glowed. No, actually, I was just a young. I don't even know if I was a teenager yet. I never, when it comes to numbers, I don't remember numbers. I don't remember years. I don't remember this stuff, but the actual experience is like ingrained in my mind and my soul, where this young girl floated between the TV and I was watching TV, New Year's Eve on the Queen Mary.
Yes,
there
was a
midnight special.
Midnight special on
So
the
awesome.
Queen Mary. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Awesome.
and I saw a story today that they might be scrapping the Queen Mary.
They better not be. There's going to be there's like petitions out there to save that ship. And
There's got to be.
I mean, we need to.
I didn't get to read the story, but
I encourage all of you to go out there and sign that petition and do what you can to save that. That thing is far too historic to be scrapped.
Yeah. And there's decades and decades of paranormal investigations to be done there still.
And we haven't been there, so that's another reason yet.
Yeah, absolutely. But this girl, she seemed to be around my age, and she was floating above the floor, not very much, about a foot above the floor, maybe. And she came from one end of the room through the living room and the dining room and living room into the hallway, just passed through, and she was all white, no color, fully detailed, long braided ponytail, a smile on her face. Her eyes were closed, hands a little bit in front of her, stretched out in front of her, a little bit, just in front of her, a long old-fashioned nightgown, roughly sleeves and neck, and it's just embedded in my memory so strong. But that was my first experience, is actually seeing something,
right?
And then it just took off from there. And then a lot of the investigations that we did together was in a house that I lived in that was extremely haunted.
And this episode, we're like I said, we're going to be talking about all things ghosts, and we're going to talk about several ideas / opinions / theories as to what ghosts are.
Yes.
And we're going to have the kind of the scientific / pseudo skeptic rebuttals, explanations as to what all of us idiots really are seeing, and experiencing, because they know better. They know better, don't they, Mike?
Absolutely. I actually have 6 possible scientific reasons for ghosts.
Yeah, well, right, absolutely.
Written down that I can share a little bit.
That's very cool. Very cool. Yeah, we're going to be riffing off top of our head. We're going to be, for longtime listeners, ding, 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 of the Alternate Realm podcast. This
my finger's stuck.
this will be nothing that they have not heard already, you know. But this is a refresh, a restart for the podcast, and I know that we're going to be getting a lot of new listeners with a very listeners who are hell bent on finding all things paranormal.
Yeah.
When they're scrolling through paranormal imagery on their podcasts search engines, and they see.
I'm very excited about the faith that you have in it.
Absolutely.
I know we are going to get.
You know, and it's when they scroll through those images and they see Paranomaly Zone,
Yes.
they'll say, I might give that a listen. You know, and hopefully we can keep a few.
But it makes me wonder, you know, like people that's scrolling through and they see the Alternate Route podcast. What do you think would come to their mind?
Right. I mean, that's just the thing. It's so wide open. And I mean,
hey, it was your idea. You came up with that.
It was, man. You know, and the alternate route, it served us well.
And it's done great for us.
It served its purpose. It was wonderful. We cannot thank it enough. But as we said on our prior special announcement episode, it has ceased to be.
Yes.
It has gone to join the choir invisible. It is no more. It is an ex-podcast.
Yes.
It is bereft of life.
Was it X podcast? Is that what my wonderful niece Rachel had mentioned? That
I believe so.
It is an X.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, and we can go on and on. And we can't thank the Alternate Route podcast enough. I mean, it was us.
But we were the Alternate Route podcast,
and you know, I want to clarify too.
The podcast was us.
I want to clarify too that me and my lovely fiance,
yes,
Bridget, started this whole craziness way back in the day with a totally different title as well, Nonsensicast Radio.
And that worked out as well for a name because that's exactly what it was.
Well, right.
At the beginning and getting into it, but then it did start to shape up.
It got, we couldn't help ourselves because we had some ghost hunter join us one day, and that his name was Mike Carbino, and we started talking about stuff that we were passionate about. And then one day I just happened to send out a random tweet to anybody on the old Twitter world about, I don't even remember what the hell I said. It was basically something along the lines of, join us, for good times and all, or even paranormal talk. I don't remember what it was at all, Mike. I'd have to do a long time search. But none other than Dustin Perry of Ghost Hunters fame followed us, replied to us, and he goes, well, here you go. I'm happy to support. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I said at that point, I'm going to just take a shot in the dark here. And I messaged him privately and I said, would you mind appearing on the show and talking with us as a guest? And he said, absolutely. That would be great.
And that, to this day,
that just started it. And so it just went on and on and on. And we were so lucky and honored to have so many awesome big names in the paranormal world join us on the Alternate Route podcast. And it's going to continue. More to come is going to continue on the Paranomaly Zone. Absolutely. So
yes. And Dustin has become a great friend of the podcast.
Absolutely.
And he's going to be our first video Patreon guest.
Absolutely.
Which I'm really looking forward to. That's going to be awesome. Awesome guy to talk to. Awesome guy. Great personality. I mean, you meet the guy. I mean, you just love the guy.
Yeah.
Awesome guy.
What I'm thinking is that it'll be Dustin's fourth appearance with us. His first time as a guest on Paranomaly Zone. And I'm thinking, Mike, we're going to release the audio interview to everybody. Because everybody deserves to listen to Dustin's awesome wisdom and his humor. And then for the patrons, they'll get the exclusive video capture, video recording of us.
They will have the added bonus of seeing his hair.
Absolutely.
And he's very proud of that hair.
He is very proud of his hair.
Yes.
And his bulging biceps nowadays.
Yes.
So it'll be good. It'll be good. So maybe he'll be sitting there shirtless. I don't know.
Well,
we shall see. We shall see. So, man, we've rambled quite a bit, Mike. Let's dive into a little bit here before we take a time traveling excursion / break. Okay.
Absolutely.
We're talking all things ghosts, Mike. When you think, well, let me rephrase that. When the term ghost pops into your brain, or someone like me says, Mike, what is a ghost? Personally, what is the first thought that pops into your mind when that question is thrust upon you?
It is what is left over after the physical, the meat and bones are done.
Okay,
they are done. The spirit, which is always with us, the energy leaves that and becomes its own entity.
So
the energy of a deceased person.
Okay, thank you. So that is the first thing that pops into your brain usually is probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, in assuming this, the first thought that pops into your brain is probably the one that you adhere to, the one that you abide by, whatever phraseology you want to use, or the one that you're most comfortable with. So when you think of a ghost, you think of the energy that lives on after the physical has not lived on. The physical is gone.
Yeah.
So the soul, in another word.
Right.
Right?
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. That lays a good groundwork for our discussion here. The first thing I want to throw out at you, Mike. We're going to be talking about all kinds of types of ghosts, types of energies.
Yeah, there are levels and types. And
would you clarify what you saw, the first energy that you saw as a young man, the floating image of a girl? You would label that as an apparition, correct?
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about what an apparition is. I'm putting you on the spot here now, Mike. Yep. So why in the world would the soul, the energy of someone passed on, be visible after it has left its physical embodiment, its physical cage, almost, its vessel? That's the word.
Entrapment.
The word I was looking for was vessel. When the soul, the energy has left its vessel. Why can some people see this soul, this image, this apparition? Again, I'm putting you on the spot. We're not scientists. People are going to quickly find out. We're not experts. People are going to quickly find out.
I'm a rock compared to a scientist.
But Mike is an experiencer, and that is so much. That adds so much credibility. I believe experiencers far more than I believe, pseudo skeptics who say that can't happen because science says this and this says that. Well, you know what? Such and such said it did, and I believe them.
Mm-hmm.
So your thoughts, Mike? I'm putting you on the spot, buddy.
You kind of went on all over the place there. My thoughts on exactly.
I went all over the place.
Why?
Yes. Why are some able to see this physical representation?
Well, it's the acceptance, it's the sensitivity, it's the willingness to be open-minded and to believe.
Okay, so you truly believe that. You truly believe that someone who, I'm not going to say a non-believer, or someone who isn't out there looking for a ghost, you don't think that they can still see one?
Yeah, I was going to clarify when you started.
Okay.
Knowing that that helps to see. I mean, there are many people that go into a place, non-believers, and they can be in there for an hour or 2 hours, and they can walk out that same door that they went in and know for the rest of their lives that there is such a thing as ghosts and hauntings. And, so it's not like you have to be sensitive, but there's got to be something there that makes you accept what you're seeing, whether it's just seeing is believing, or the pre-thought of, well, it's a possibility, but I'm not believing it yet. And then they just need that one thing, like like, I'm not saying that you don't believe, but your 100% guarantee is not there until I die and come back. And the first place I'm going to go to is wherever you're at. and I'm going to poke one of your eyeballs out.
Oh, good Lord. Well, actually, the first thing, all I will need to hear, I'm sitting there all by myself, or I'm the last one awake. I'm sad. I'm lonely because I just left Mike's wake. What was that?
I have no idea, but that was kind of big and glowy.
Okay, that was big and glowy. That was interesting.
It sure was.
Sorry, everybody, but that's interesting because something very big and glowy just flew past Mike's face on our Zoom call here. That was interesting. Too bad we weren't recording that. That was unique. I'm telling you, listeners, Mike is just he's followed. But getting back to what I was going to say was I'm sitting there. I'm sad. I'm lonely. I just returned from Mike's funeral. I'm waiting to be slugged in the face
after eating little quartered sandwiches with some kind of a ham spread on them.
There you go.
And a macaroni salad and chips.
salad. Wow, you've been to a lot
basement,
of you've
in
been
the
to a lot
basement of a church.
You've been to a lot of funerals apparently.
and a nice small glass of warm Hawaiian punch to go with it.
There you go. Yep, I got you. So again, it's timing is everything. It's not going to be nearly...
And coffee. There's always coffee.
There's always coffee. Timing is everything. It's not going to be nearly as funny, but I'm sitting there all by myself. I'm bereaved. I'm sniffling, and I'm just waiting for a damn... waiting for a damn sign. And of course, all I hear is... Now, new listeners don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah, they don't need to know.
Oh, come
There's
on.
enough longtime listeners that know what that is.
Okay, well, it would actually be... Now, give me a second, Mike. It would actually be in this exact order. Yeah, because then you would bust out laughing in the moment.
And there's one more after that.
There is one more. Oh, that's... Okay, this is the exact... I skipped one. This would be the exact order of Mike's first attempt to contact me when he has passed on to the other side.
Ow!
Yeah, so.
And there's still one more, because the last one has to be, that's enough of that.
Okay, I was going to do that. Damn it. Okay, that's right. Okay, one more time. We'll get it right this time. Just picture Patrick, me, sitting there. Again, I'm bereaved. I'm sad. I'm sniffling. I'm wiping my eyes. And I'm just looking for a sign.
Ow! Enough of that.
Okay, there you go. Got it. Done.
And then after that, you all of a sudden start hearing Ace of Base singing, I saw the sign.
Oh, Lord. Okay, yeah, shut up. Okay, well, anyways.
Okay, any new listeners I hope you're starting to realize that there's comedy and levity in this as well.
Oh, there has to be. Yeah. So, well, the idea of the apparition, though, Mike.
Yes.
Why do you think, before we move on to another quote unquote explanation as to what a ghost is, or a type of ghost, I should say, actually, not all people who pass on, obviously, 99.9% of people who pass on are not seen afterwards. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not seen even by loved ones, the ones closest to them. Quickly, in your opinion, why are some people able to manifest? Or I shouldn't say some people. Why are some deceased? Why are the spirits of some deceased able to manifest and be seen as opposed to majority that are not?
Well, maybe the majority don't even hang around to be seen.
Very good point. Very good point.
You always hear the explanation of why are there ghosts? Well, unfinished business, or there's something that's, whatever that's keeping them bound to earth. And maybe it's just that the majority aren't. They see the light, they go, and they start their next existence.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hanging back. They're not here to be seen by anybody.
I like that you said their next existence.
Right. Oh, there's no such thing as death. It's a transition. And I believe that for many years. And as I've gotten older, I believe it even more strongly.
Well, and Mike's job has Mike's experienced that personally with his job that he loves. He takes care of. He works in hospice, and unfortunately, you've worked with a lot of people who have eventually passed on, Mike, and you've grown close to a lot of them. Yeah,
the majority, I should say.
Right, and you've grown close to them, and you've seen them pass on, and it's no joke. It's no joke that you, if seen is not the correct term, you felt their energy, leave.
Yep. There's a sensitivity there. There's last words can be very powerful if there are last words, or the last words that you share with them before they pass away, which, there are times when I'm with them, have been with them when they passed away, or the last time I've seen them and they passed away within the next day or two or hours. Where was I going with this?
I think I know where you're going there, Mike, and I think our listeners know where you're going. It's a very powerful, moving moment.
Oh, and it's absolutely, it's like you said, it's a big part of my life and everything. And actually, which reminds me, I had my appointment with the pain clinic today, and I had another discussion with a different doctor that has also saying that, well, it might be time for you to rethink what you should be doing career-wise.
Right, because Mike has to drive hours and hours to go to all of his patients.
And the physical part of being a CNA, there's a lot of CNAs out there. If there's CNAs out there that are listening to this, you know what I mean. It's one of the toughest jobs on your back, and if you go into it with a bad back, which I've had for many, many, many years as a kid, even, and I'm not getting any younger, the back's getting worse, the job is getting harder, and that's just the way it is. And I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? Become a full-time paranormal investigator.
There you go, Mike. A paranormal investigator / podcaster. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you got my support.
Then I better start making some money.
There. No, I gotcha, man.
But anyway, yeah. So anyway, enough of that history on me. But yeah.
Well, no, I think it's important that you talk about that. I really do, because it is important. It's very important to you, and it's a big time decision coming up. And and
that's a little update on listeners that have kind of followed along with,
right.
Not that any of them care
if
I have a bad back or not. No, it goes beyond a bad back. It's a malady.
Yeah.
And it's a plethora of issues.
Oh, good use of the
word.
But
you were saying I have a plethora.
I do have a plethora of piñatas.
Yes.
Yes, El Guapo.
Yes, and they are all stabbing me in my lower back.
Now, okay. One thing that you had mentioned, was it two or three episodes ago? And new listeners, you'll become accustomed to the casual nature of Mike just tossing out stuff. Oh, by the way, this happened the other day, and I'm just like,
well, was it a couple of weeks ago in that kind of a black, misty, cloudy, fragmented cloud went through my dining room.
Just so you know, I think you just meant fragmented, not fragmentated. So thank you.
No, for your benefit, I said fragmentated because I know how you hate.
Okay, just for me, just for me. Okay,
I have bought this
for
myself.
Thank you very much. Even your dog hates that one too.
Yeah, Macy.
And new listeners will also become accustomed to Mike's puppy barking and making her presence known during the recording.
I think she's already weighs like 60 pounds and she's like 5 months old and she's got a long way to go.
So you had mentioned though, Mike, a couple weeks ago, standing in your kitchen, were you cooking?
I was cooking. Yeah, that's why I couldn't all of a sudden grab my spirit box and my SLS stuff and run out. And no, I was cooking. I was drinking beer and cooking, and and watching Guy Fieri in my kitchen, and you don't disturb me when I'm doing that.
So
I don't care if you're dead.
You don't care if you're
You
dead or
just-
ectoplasm or ectomist. You don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, that's what I wanted to throw out there, Mike. That's another form of a quote-unquote ghost, what people would label
Absolutely.
as a ghost. Ectoplasm, ectomist. Now,
Right.
kind of, as you mentioned, kind of described as like a floating, swirling, orbiting kind of
It was
a
like
mist.
a cloud, like a black cloud with
There you go.
kind of, yeah, it was,
Is fog like a dense fog? Is that like a hard? Is that a fair description? Not like a overwhelming fog, but or more smoky looking.
more like a cloud,
Okay,
smoky cloud. Yeah, smoky, I guess you could put on there, but parts of it were more broken up, like a cloud you might see in the sky.
sure.
And other parts were very black, very
Interesting.
black.
Very interesting. And
Yeah,
it moved right in front of you.
I was in the kitchen where I have a direct view into the dining room, which is, as you know, what 15 feet away
Right.
at the most.
Yep.
And I saw it come from the area of our laundry room, which is on one side of the dining room, and it went into the bathroom. So into that area. Now, if I would have seen it coming in the other direction from the bathroom out into the dining room, I would have thought it was left over from when I was just last in the bathroom. But no, it was going into the bathroom. So when
okay.
Thank you, Mary. I just made Mary laugh.
Yeah, I heard you.
And,
Well, what
and
happened?
there's nothing from Patrick.
What? Well, the thing is, Mike,
But yes.
you can't leave out the audio you heard right before you saw that leaving the bathroom. Yeah, so I'm sorry. It was
Well, it doesn't smell that bad.
yeah.
That's another story.
And we will remind me, Mike, to explain to new listeners what that soundbite is before this episode is over with. Okay.
Oh, sure. Everybody's got to know that.
Yeah. So the idea, one thing I read that's interesting, Mike, is regarding ectomist / ectoplasma.
Yeah.
However you want to label it, is that some theories suggest that it is actually like the beginning portion of a full-fledged manifestation that has yet to become that fully fledged apparition, so to speak.
Right. It's
Do
like
you buy
the
that?
beginning. I do to a to a certain degree, where ectoplasm is like the beginning formation. Maybe if you have enough energy or if the spirit has enough energy to start coming out and showing itself as an ectoplasmic form, and then an ectoplasm, the more energy that it draws and gains, then it can start forming into the human figure or the mist, or however far it develops into a human figure.
Do you think that let's say that the ectomist is like the very beginning stage? It is really trying to manifest. It's really trying to get your attention. Do you think that there is a legit possibility that it needs and feeds off of the energy of the living that is around
Oh, absolutely.
it? I mean, it's like
Absolutely.
it's giving you that sign. It's like, I'm here. There's another little thing that flew past you.
Crazy.
And it's like giving you the signs, like, I'm here. I need you to help me show myself. Is that a possibility in your mind?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the same way when like all these TV shows you watch about ghost hunting and everything, that their flashlights start dying, or their cameras go out, or their batteries die. When that starts happening, you might just start to think and look for something manifesting, or something happening, or hearing something, or whatever, because it's gaining that energy. It's pulling and drawing that energy to manifest in some way.
Has that ever happened to you, Mike, in your lifelong experiences of all things paranormal, essentially? Have you ever had like a dizzy spell? Like when you've seen or sensed or smelled or anything like that? Have you ever, like, you felt yourself be kind of physically drained?
the only time that happened that I can remember, it just once. Geez, there's all kinds of stuff floating around in here.
Yeah, that one looked like one of those stupid little bugs we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. But anyway, the abandoned house that you and I have been in by Dorset, by
Oh yeah, the one that's like
Park Rapids that you had recently been into again.
Yeah. I visited it a couple of times, and you can watch the videos on there on our Patreon page.
Awesome place. I mean, there's possibly some things going on there, but just a beautiful old abandoned farmhouse. I remember being in there. This was all those years ago, 15 whatever years ago,
2007 I think it was. So yeah.
I remember going into there, and as I went towards this part of the house where the stairs went down into the basement, I all of a sudden just got like vertigo.
Really?
I did, and very dizzy. Things got you know how things look when you kind of hyperventilate, and it's almost like things look really crisp all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like
Sure.
before you start to hyperventilate or something. I felt like that, but I had to throw it out because the night before I had a lot to drink.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if I was just feeling that. I wasn't feeling hungover or anything, but it's just the thought of
you and I were hanging out that night before, right? Wasn't you and I? And
I think so.
And
yeah.
the
I would imagine
the former gal friends at the time, I believe.
Yeah.
That was because we do have a picture. Hey, oh man, my mind is racing right now. We do have a picture shared on one of our Twitter pages. Well, no, not one. Our fairly new, I just started it a couple months ago, Twitter page, Paranomaly. This is Paranomaly Zone, but Paranomaly 3 is our rebirth of our like ghost investigation duo that you and I are, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
That we were trying to do again, I should say. And the picture that I have pinned on there is from that day. I believe it's from
looking
that
out
day.
the window.
Well, that's one of them. But there's also a picture
picture.
of where we're standing. No, I'm getting the pictures mixed up. I am getting the pictures mixed up. I'm thinking of another one when I was totally hungover and you weren't.
Yeah.
But anyhow, go follow that page. That's totally dedicated to our ghost investigations. We'll be tweeting and keeping in touch on that one. Again, I just started that one maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Go follow Mike on Twitter at CarbnoMichael. I know that better than Mike does himself.
I do. I have a hard time remembering stuff
Follow
like that.
Follow us on at Paranomaly Zone, and you can go follow me on my art page at Kaufenberg Art. Starts with a K. Kaufenberg Art.
And that's because Patrick thinks he's some kind of an artist.
Yeah, that's right. I know that. Trust me.
And when you check out his page, you will realize that yes, he is.
Yeah, well, so is Mike too, and you just need to get your ass back into it, my friend.
I have 1 week and a weekend left of my vacation that I'm on right now.
Yes.
And there's 2 things that I wanted to try and at least start scratching at, and that is journaling, which I've wanted to do for years, and a piece of artwork.
Very good. I hope you do that, man. You need to.
It's in me soul. Just
do it. Just do it, man. The hardest part is just starting. So
yes, I know.
And you know that.
And then you get the flow. When I was putting out pieces of artwork, I would just, put one out one after another and loving it now, but the stuff that I did at that time, I'm going to kind of probably change my style a little bit because my artwork could take like 6 months to finish a piece.
Yeah. You did it with dots.
And I don't want to take that long. Cause then sometimes I'd finish a piece and then I'd be like, hit a dry spot for like 2 months.
Oh, I get
months.
it. I get it, man.
And I just want to do it. I want to do it.
Do it.
And you have been encouraging me for years.
Yes.
To get back into it. I'm not promising anything, but the thought is definitely there.
Well,
very strong.
The thought is the first step. The next step is just to sit down and start. And then,
and I'm actually kind of thinking I'd like to try a little bit of graphite and charcoal and
very
things
cool.
like that.
I love charcoal. I haven't done charcoal for
I
years.
know. I have, and I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome.
Years ago, I have, but not a lot. But when I have, it's great. Get the old blending tools out and everything.
Oh God, yeah. You know, it's a fun way, and we have to do our first time traveling excursion here. I want to say this real quick though, and new listeners, you realize this too. Mike and I are both passionate about arts, all things arts, and so every now and then we kind of ramble about this a little bit. But I have a fond memory. I only did it like a couple times. A very fun medium of art is essentially drawing with, drawing with your eraser. And I did that.
Yeah.
You do that with your charcoal and stuff. You know, have like the whole slate of charcoal, and it's reverse drawing essentially.
Yeah.
Because you do it with the eraser, and it really helps. It teaches you so much when you do it in essentially reverse. It's like you're so used to shading it, but then you're like, no, I can't do that because that's where I need that to be light. Instead
of shading, you're highlighting it. It's
exactly.
It's amazing. Yeah,
it is.
You get that like that little rubbery eraser that you can squish like silly putty,
right?
And just work with that, and
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, let's see here. We're 45 minutes already, so that's awesome. We have a lot of stuff to dive into here, and hold on until the very end, everybody, because we have a new segment. Well, it's new for long-time listeners. We're going to wrap up every show. We quite literally came up with this right before we started recording tonight. Well, we had mentioned it earlier, but we decided on it today. We're going to finish every episode with one last take. And what does that one last take entail? Well, anything.
Anything. It doesn't even have to be paranormal. It
no,
could be,
absolutely. We're talking opinions. We're talking takes on all things paranormal, all things movies, pop culture, music, anything. If you guys want to have suggestions, you want to hear our thoughts and takes on it, throw them at us. It's going to be a fun way.
It's not like we're pulling away from our content.
Absolutely
this
not.
Is just going to add to it.
It's going to add to it, and it'll be a fun thing to wrap up, and hopefully it'll become a successful bit that people will enjoy. So hold on till the very end. So we don't know what we're going to talk about as of yet. We're going to figure it out before the episode is over, though. So
that makes it even that much more fun.
Right. All right, Mike, hold on, boys and girls. We have to take our first. Oh, and Macy's all sad. She howled. Hold on, we're going to take our first time traveling excursion. Mike, I'll see you on the other side, buddy. All right, we have returned after our first Paranormal Zone time traveling excursion. Mike, I hope everything is okay. I know your dog is being rambunctious, and
but that's
Hey, just as a notification, or not a notification, how do I want to say this?
An FYI.
An FYI, yeah. If this is your first time listening to the Paranormal Zone, and you're like, man, I really like this content and stuff, but the doggy in the background is like, it's distracting me. Just so you know, the doggy is a puppy. The doggy is growing up. The doggy is going to quiet down. And also Mike's going to build a wall around his podcast.
That is in the plans for sure. But the puppy, it's a massive puppy. Like I said, it's about 5 months old. She's a purebred German Shepherd, and she still has not grown into her feet yet.
I know. Yep. Just like you.
And she's a monster already. But that's okay.
Yep.
She's going to be another Clifford, the big red dog.
Taken after her dad. Mike still has size 28 shoes that he's yet to grow into. I don't know why, but Okay, Mike. We talked about some apparitions, or the idea of an apparition, the appearance of a soul.
They have actually been seen leaving a body.
Right. Absolutely, they have. We've talked about ectoplasm.
Documented and recorded. If it's, real or not, or legit, but some very intriguing, interesting footage out there about stuff like that.
And on video, there's stuff that's, like you said, very intriguing. Ectoplasm, ectomist, we spoke briefly of. Moving on to Mike, one of our favorite topics, and a lot of our listeners' topics, orbs, Mike.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on orbs? I mean, for those who don't know, if you're listening to this podcast, you know what orbs are. Kind of translucent little balls of light that tend to be shifty and flying in and out of wherever, if you're filming something, you'll see these little balls of light, come closer to you and float away any number of places. You could see them with the naked eye as well. Mike and I saw them through our video camera lens, and before realizing that we weren't recording it.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was awesome. That was great.
But there's so much to be said for and against orbs. I mean, I think the majority of them you have to kind of throw out.
100% you do. Absolutely. Not 100% of them, but I'm agreeing with you 100% that you have to throw most of them out.
The ones that I really like are the ones that do cover tunes for Roy Orbison.
Good God. Yeah. Okay, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, do you think you have a great sense of humor?
Yeah.
Is it pretty lame?
Yeah.
But you still want to do it now and again, right?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I apologize.
Now, what was that again? Roy Orbison? Yeah, he thinks it's hilarious. Computer Mike loves it.
Crying.
Stop it. Pretty
but yeah,
Orbison.
there's some that you can just it's like, oh, that's dust. That's dust. Like
Bugs.
when you and I were in that very haunted house that I lived in, and we'd go up in the attic and spend time up there in that really cool, creepy, freaky attic that had all that stuff in there and everything.
Sure.
And but dusty. I mean, that loose, cottony kind of. I don't know what kind of insulation did they have there. I can't remember, but yeah, it was just you couldn't accept any kind of an orb there because it just so dusty.
Now, what do you think? What do you think about this idea, Mike, of orbs on a similar to ectomist, Mike? Orbs as the beginning part of a manifestation, again, as if they were able to feed off of whatever energy is surrounding them. The orbs are like stage 1 of an apparition, all the way up to stage 20 until it's finally like, hey, there's Aunt Jemima right there, or Aunt Jemima,
Jemima. There's Aunt Millie up there.
Sure.
It's kind of a spot of dust, but it's got her face. It's got her features.
Right. Yeah. I
which
don't know.
Which I would say about some orbs where, a lot of people will post pictures of orbs and they say that they'll see a face in it, things like that, which I think a lot of times is matrixing, but but who knows? I mean, there's so much of the stuff that is just all theory, and people like us and more trying to just figure it out.
Who's Gus, by the way?
Us.
Oh, okay. All right.
I know no Gus.
Yeah, and I don't know why I said Aunt Jemima. I was trying to say like Aunt Judy or something like that, because I have an Aunt Judy, and I don't know why that popped in my brain, but
I love the syrup.
It's tasty. It's tasty.
Oh yeah.
But what do you think about that idea of them not only being the part, and you kind of touched on it already, not only being the beginning part of a manifestation, hopefully maybe becoming a full manifestation, but again, kind of diving into a bit of research. Orbs, Mike, are theorized to be traveling souls of deceased humans or animals. I mean, traveling. That's the part that was intriguing, that grabbed me. It's like they are traveling spirits of the deceased, of both humans and animals. I guess I don't really know what I think about that. It's interesting that I came about that. As I mentioned to you earlier, I might have sent it a couple days ago. You never replied to it, but I did do an EVP/spirit box session at a cemetery about like 10 miles away from the house the other day. I did it on Halloween day. Went there and a 15-minute little session, filmed it and recorded it with the digital recorder. Got some interesting. I mean, who knows, Mike? It's a spirit box apps. Spirit box app. We think that we're open-minded to those being legit. As you said, it's the same principle as the actual spirit box.
Right. Exactly.
Anyhow, I did that session the other day, and one of the questions I was asking was along the lines of, before I asked this question, I should clarify, I said, now, we don't necessarily believe that spirits linger in cemeteries, particularly those spirits of the ones who are buried in those cemeteries. We don't necessarily believe that theory. We don't dismiss it, but
unless for some reason there is an attachment to the physical body that
Right.
they inhabited for so long.
Right.
And for what reason, I don't know, but that's the only reason that I could think of that they would be there, is there's some kind of an attachment to their
Mhm.
physical being or physical body that,
their final resting place.
yeah.
And what I was saying then, I said we don't necessarily, go by that theory / thought. And then I said something along the lines of, perhaps you are just spirits passing through. Is that sincerely a possibility? And I was asking questions along those lines, like, are you lingering? Are you passing through? And now that's interesting that orbs are theorized to be traveling spirits. What do you think of the idea of traveling spirits, Mike? That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Why not? I mean,
Right.
you know,
Absolutely. Why not?
they have, a person could have had family scattered all over the country,
Mhm.
and let's travel, and this is the easiest form to travel in. Who knows?
Well, of course, they're obviously not limited by by their physical restraints of travel, as you and I are, or the living are. I mean, it's a whole nother ball of wax we could dive into
absolutely.
here and
You theorize
discuss.
about a lot of things, like maybe orbs are just and maybe they're a little bit easier to manifest as an orb.
Mhm.
And they can use that for traveling, as you say, or
Mhm.
whatever, because it's easier to manifest that way. But why would they have to manifest it all to travel? You would think that they would be beyond those constraints of travel.
Great point.
It's like with a thought, they could be wherever they want to be.
Yep. Mhm.
That's something that I would be more likely to
That's a great point.
believe in.
Yeah, because again, that kind of goes along what I was kind of trying to get at. It's like they're not limited to the same restraints that we
exactly.
are, and so the idea of them traveling doesn't quite make sense. Because as you said, Mike, it should be like instantaneous. They could be at all places at all times, almost omnipotent. If there's not a better word to use right there, because time and place does not exist for them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's an interesting thing to ponder. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Traveling. How about the idea of orbs being specifically the spirits of passed on animals? What do you think about that?
Specifically, well,
Just as a
there have been
possibility.
so many. What's that?
I said just as a possibility, not saying that
As a possibility. Well, anything is possible like that. I mean, it can be maybe a possible one of many shapes that it can take, as an animal can take as a spirit, just like humans. But we have obviously read and heard of stories where you see an actual animal, like the dog or the cat or whatever. Which brings me to an interesting story that I don't know if I've ever shared it.
Ooh, I can't wait.
On the show.
Is this a personal
experience, a personal experience that I had.
Does this have anything to do with your ghost cat that you see at your house every night?
No, but yeah, there's another example though. I haven't seen that for a while, but yes, there is that ghost cat here that unformed, completely, not formed completely cat, but you can see the shape of the body, different brownish colors, and that big fluffy tail.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then I swore I saw that when I was talking to you years ago during an episode, Mike, if you remember. I saw it like in the reflection of a mirror, if I remember correctly. Because I said, like, Mike, is your cat in your room right now? Or I can't remember exactly the exact situation. And you're like, no, there's no cats in here. I was like, I swore I saw something move right past your mirror. And I believed it, and I was 100% said, I think I just saw your damn ghost cat. But then the next morning, I woke up and said, no, I didn't.
That's how
I
you
don't know
do
what
it. That's how
I
you
don't know what it
talk
was.
yourself out of a real paranormal experience. No, didn't happen.
Nah.
It was that undigested piece of beef.
That's what it was. Yes. Nothing to see here moving forward. So, but you were going to say
But
something
yes.
else, Mike.
This happened to me. Was it 1977, very possibly that.
I thought you were going to say 70 years ago for a second. I was like,
Oh,
whoa.
God, no. I'm getting old, but not that.
It's like, you look
Not
fantastic.
that old. But anyway, I believe it was 1977. The family, my mom and dad, my sister and I, my brother, he stayed at home. He was like old enough to where he quit taking family trips with us and just partied while we were all gone. But
is this the brother that I
think
know?
so. Wasn't that Steve? Pretty much you would party when we were gone, like to Canada, or
Mike
when we took our trip out to California.
Just so listeners and new listeners are aware, Mike isn't literally talking to an imaginary friend right now. He's talking, questioning a listener / his brother Steve right there.
Yeah.
Because
maybe he didn't party all the time, but
it took me aback for a second.
But hey,
Mike.
it was the 70s.
It took me back for a second, Mike, because you actually kind of looked to the side. And
I did. I was like, I had to ponder that myself.
And I was like, are you talking to somebody named Steve right now that I don't see? What's happening, Mike?
Yeah. But anyway, we went on this. We just traveled across many different states, going west and south and west, and went to California to visit relatives, my dad's brother and family. 2 brothers out there at the time, actually. And while we were out there, we did the whole Disneyland trip, which was awesome. You know, that in the 70s, it I think about it now, it was like that vintage Disneyland. It was just so cool, And well, I remember at a restaurant that we were at, where you could get like Mickey Mouse shaped pancakes and stuff like that, the ears, whatever. I don't remember what I was eating, but there's a lot of people there. And I remember sitting at the table, and I was about 15 at the time. Yeah, 15 at the time. And I heard this jingling of like a dog collar with like the license and whatever on it that they, name tag maybe that jingles on the collar when they're hopping along or whatever. And I looked down where I thought I heard this coming from, and down this little aisle area between tables, I saw a very, talk about misty again, but not totally formed, not totally shaped as a dog, but it was a very small dog, like a almost like a Scotty dog, like a white one, and kind of blurry, but just kind of prancing along between the tables in this little aisle area. But it was not like a solid object, not like a solid dog.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like the cat, and then it was gone. And over the years, I've forgotten about it over the years. I think about it again at different times, and I think about it and
then you
try
forget
to
it
process
again.
it in my head again. And it's like, it was a dog. I heard it. I heard the dog tags jingling as it pranced through this between these tables. And I looked down where the sound was, and I saw that. I don't think I've ever shared that before.
I have never heard that before. No, that's a new one, Mike.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's one of those things where you've remembered it occasionally, and you're like, I need to tell like Patrick or our listeners about that, but then for whatever reason it slips your mind, and then
it goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad that you remember that. That's another crazy example right there. I mean, are you being followed by animal spirits too, Mike? Are you just like a damn spiritual magnet? What the hell? I think
if somebody that is sensitive and that can experience these things, it doesn't matter. I mean, what they are, where they come from. Yeah. It's just there for you if you accept it.
Mike, cold spots. Another form of another alleged form, let me clarify,
Mhm.
of paranormal activity. Now, I know you've experienced cold spots, and
I have, yeah.
where quite literally you feel surrounded by not necessarily surrounded by. You could quite literally stick your hand out in front of you, like 2.5 feet or so, and like, oh my god, I can totally feel that. Feels like a refrigerator in here, and you're not sticking your hand in a refrigerator, but it feels,
Right.
and the hair on your arm stand up, and there it is. You see it on, again, Mike, you mentioned it before. You see it on all the on Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, and all that. They have the experiences with these cold spots, and they're undeniable, unmistakable, according to those who experience them. I don't think I've ever really experienced a cold spot. The reading that I did about cold spots, Mike, it's interesting. I have never heard of this either, my friend. Cold spots are commonly, well, I shouldn't say commonly, oftentimes associated with what are known as funnel ghosts. Now,
Okay.
funnel ghosts are theorized, Mike, to be the returning spirits of loved ones, and they appear in the physical representation of wisps or spirals of light. And these cold spots occur right before these wisps / spirals of light. Now, I've never seen anything like that on all of our paranormal shows, and as long-time listeners know, we've watched a lot of them. We love all of them. Well, not all of them, most of them.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything about these funnel ghosts. There's another thing that's flew right past your dang. Whoa!
That's big. I don't know what the heck that is. Oh, it's still going.
Okay, do you have incense going or something, Mike?
No, absolutely. Look at that. I have no incense burning. That was no bug.
No, that was absolutely no bug. Mike, why were we?
One of my candles just burned out.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Good Lord, Mike. That's
Okay,
exactly what that was. Wow. Anyways, so the idea of cold spots being the kind of the signal of these funnel ghosts returning loved ones coming back to visit. Your thoughts on that, Mike? And it's okay to disagree with it, because cold spots could be anything. I'll just throw that out there.
Well, my thought on cold spots are another way of an entity pulling energy and drawing energy, and it's the energy that's pulled out leaves cold, and it's another manifestation or on its way to being on its way to manifest.
No, it's cold because easy for you to say, right?
Yeah.
Now, it is quite literally cold. Obviously, we're not physicists, but it's quite literally cold because everything has been emptied. It's been emptied, right? I mean, there's like nothing there. It's void of Where is the silver-haired fox when you need him, Mike? We need Mr. Mikio Kaku on this
I know.
show. But again, you have experienced cold spots. I know you have.
Mhm.
Does that ever, when it has happened to you, Mike, does it like creep you out at all? I know the answer, but our listeners don't. Our new listeners definitely don't.
No.
Has it ever freaked you
not.
out? Okay, it hasn't. It hasn't. Now, why do you personally not get at least creeped out? You're always just like, man, as I saw that, I felt that, I've experienced that. And what would it take to creep you out, Mike? If anything, can you?
I think it's pure acceptance.
Okay. And Mike is like just absolutely wrestling with his dog or something. I don't know what's happening right now. I'm covering for him because he disappeared. Now he's back.
I'm back.
Yeah, this is a real great way to capture new listeners.
I know.
So now I lost my train of thought. Oh, Mike. So what would it take to creep you out, if anything? He's thinking. I can see his mind turning right now, or churning, I should say. And now he's not thinking anymore because he's dealing with the doggy.
Yeah, well, we got the shepherd and we got a very old dachshund that's blind and she gets stuck in corners. And now she was just eating and peeing at the same time.
Oh, good Lord. Yep. That's pretty,
Anyway.
That's pretty intense right there.
All right. So what was your
one last time? What would it take? What would it take,
to creep
Mike,
me out?
to creep you out?
I'd have to think about it. I mean, I know there's stuff plenty that would creep me out. There's plenty that would. But what comes to mind, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's getting really loud. We have to take a break here, everybody. Hold on. We shall be all right. Back. All right, Mike, we are back. Now to finish our thoughts on that, well, particularly your thoughts on the ideas of cold spots being associated with the return of loved ones. Now that's interesting to me. I had personally never heard of that one before because that's very.
I've never heard of that either.
It's very specific.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
And why would it manifest as cold?
Great question. Because jeepers, what's going on now? We will have the noise issues remedied. Soon. New listeners, trust us. But that's a great question, though, Mike. Why would they manifest? Well, it wouldn't be manifesting, but why would the atmosphere be cold? If it was returning loved one, you would obviously, maybe it sounds corny, it would feel like it would be a warm embrace.
Right.
Warm,
and I'm sure there are times where it is that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's all about drawing energy. That's all I can really, stick to with what I believe.
Yeah.
And
the spiral lights, the spiral wisps. That's an interesting concept, I guess. We have to keep an eye out for that. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before either. Yeah.
Well, let's see here, Mike. We have a couple of cool ones to end with here before we move on to our one last take segment. Okay.
Okay.
And we still don't know what the hell we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Well, that's
that makes
that's
it
a big
cool.
part of what we are is spontaneity and not knowing what the hell.
Well, let's start with. Well, actually, I'll do this, Mike. The last two are poltergeists and shadow people. Okay. Which one pops out to you more? Just for whatever reason, personal reasons, experience reasons, belief or non-belief reasons. Which one just really kind of grabs you more?
Well, I believe in them both, actually, obviously, but shadow people really pop out at me because I have seen them and experienced them, heard them.
You saw one behind your couch or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was interesting. I was sitting in the easy chair watching TV, and the couch was by the front window. This was in base housing when I was in the Air Force in Grand Forks, North Dakota, actually. Grand Forks Air Force Base. But anyway, I heard like a shuffling noise, like something brushing against the couch. And I looked over right away, and I seen what looked like a head or half of a head or the top of the head, all black, like a shadow, quickly ducked down behind the couch as soon as I looked over there.
Creepy.
And of course, right away, I got up and went over there, and there was nothing there. But so it was interesting that I had seen this and I'd heard it. Well, I first heard it, which prompted me to look over when I saw it. So it was pretty interesting.
And again, that just creeps me out. I don't know why shadow people just I was going to say irritate, but they don't irritate me. They're eerie to me. It's
well, people have described them as when they've seen them, they're just very like a foreboding, evil feeling that they get.
That's the thing I was going to say, because some of the supposed well, I shouldn't say supposed theories. They are theories as to what shadow people are. As you just said, Mike, a lot of them suggest that it is like the foreboding or the sign of a negative presence of some sort.
Yeah.
There are
I think-
oh, go ahead, Mike.
I think to begin with, some people get freaked out by the fact that it's all black.
It's right. Of
It's
course.
It's a black thing. It's black is evil. It's
Mhm.
like when, yes, Macy, when you, Macy, Mary, Patrick, and I were at Itasca State Park, walking with Macy, pure black German Shepherd. There were people that actually freaked out.
They did. I saw
And
it. Yep.
there's that little kid that he got all scared and said, "Oh, big black dog," and
Well, there was the couple we mentioned. I
Yeah.
mentioned this on the podcast, I believe. There was
Yeah.
the couple who the woman was pregnant, I believe, right?
I believe so.
And her husband / mate, quite literally, when they saw your black German Shepherd, he stopped her in her
Yep.
tracks and walked in front of her and stuck his arm out in front of her.
Yep,
as if
got
to
between her and the dog.
got between her and the dog, and he was nervous too. And Mike, you actually responded to him and you said like, she's harmless, and he just kind of like
Yeah, he didn't want to have anything to do with it.
And I asked you about that. I was like, Mike, what is up with this? I mean, these people are reacting to your black German Shepherd like there's something going on there, but
Yeah, it was weird.
so I get it though. It's the association with like just the black, the dark mass, the dark,
Right.
the mystery. There's something about it that is foreboding. But there's also some kind of crazy theories that go with shadow people, Mike. Some people think that they are aliens. What do you think about that one?
I've heard a little bit about that, but there's always that
sort
possibility.
of
But
alien. Yeah.
I just think of them more as a spectral being than
How about
aliens.
extra dimensional beings?
There's a possibility that I could kind of
Mm-hmm.
grab a hold of.
Now that
Because I think there are times when I've read stories or seen stories about shadow people is that they kind of come out of like space, like a space in the room. It's like they'll all of a sudden like come through something,
sure.
and that could very well be like a type of a interdimensional doorway where these things are coming from.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, it's like they're popping out of a tunnel that's not
Right,
there,
exactly.
and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, hello, person, or whatever you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it creeps me out. It terrifies me. It's one of my favorite episodes of Ghost Hunters, the old original Ghost Hunters, Mike, when they captured those shadow people in 2 different episodes.
Mm-hmm.
One of them behind the pool table. I can't remember what it was at
Classic.
what particular bar it
episode.
was, and then also those ones when they're at the lighthouse. And
Right.
they're filming the stairs.
Up the stairs
filming upwards. Man, that was great. That was back in the day when that show would leave me creeped out at night. And when I go to bed after watching it, and I'd just be looking around the house and like, okay, where are you shadow people right now? It was just me and my beagle dog at the time, so my mind went rolling a little bit. But yeah. Anyways.
I don't know. Anything's possible.
And last but not least for this episode, Mike, Poltergeists. So we've talked about this before on the Ultimate Route podcast quite a few times. It's a fascinating subject. Obviously, it's as everyone knows, it's a German term and like noisy ghost,
Right.
playful ghost, however you want to interpret it. That's essentially what it is. I want to dive into the idea, Mike, of it being a form of energy that is purely manifested by humans themselves. That is a theory that so many people buy into.
Yep.
Do you think that is something that is created by humans and is thus for not supernatural in nature, essentially, because humans are creating it somehow?
Yeah, like the onset of puberty by is it boys and girls are more?
It tends to be more girls. Tends to be more girls.
Yeah.
Yep.
The energy and the emotion that is brought on by those hormonal changes manifests as something like that. Human beings are capable of many things that we have no understanding of and have no inkling of, which makes that a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's so fits with the paranormal as far as a ghost. Some ghost that's trying to get attention, something that has lived before, but
and the thing that I'm sorry, a thought just popped in my brain, Mike. I'm really sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's okay.
New listeners will come to realize soon that I'm good at doing that because I don't want to lose my train of thought here. The idea of humans creating / conjuring poltergeist activity it's fine in itself. I get that, particularly when humans are around at that time. But how do you go about explaining occurrences that happened when no human is around at that time? I mean, there's how many cases, documented cases, video footage taken of empty households, Mike, of shit going crazy. I mean, things flying off the walls, washing machines being opened and slammed shut. No one's around. No one's at home. No one's doing all this stuff. It's labeled as poltergeist activity. Does that human energy linger that much that it's still creating this activity?
It's got to be some pretty strong human energy.
No kidding.
To me, there's always the possibility of the pubescent puberty mayhem, whatever.
We've all gone through it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember mine. I think I don't know. I think I hibernated through it.
Sure.
But anyway, to me, I am more likely to think of a spirit of a person that was maybe a jokester during life, carries on when he's a ghost and he or she is a ghost in the afterlife, making their presence known by doing all these things. That's what I tend to think more of. I take the meaning of poltergeist in the translation of it
quite
more,
literally,
more literally.
Thank you for saying the idea of. Well, let me rethink what I was going to say here, and I'm failing miserably. Mike looks like he's distracted right now as well, so I'm distracted. Are you okay?
Yep.
Okay. Before I forget, and before we move on, we need to throw out all the scientific quote unquote explanations for all things ghosts, Mike. Another idea for shadow people, because I forgot to mention it, is that it is a demonic entity, Mike, from the quote-unquote underworld. Now, as new listeners will come to realize, Mike isn't so sure about the existence of demonic entities. What we label... You're coming around. What we label as demonic / evil, perhaps / satanic entities, but satanic has a totally different definition.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
on its own. Do you buy that, Mike? Or at least I should say, and answer as briefly as you can. Do you think that there's a possibility that shadow people are like a demonic entity from the quote unquote underworld?
It has to be on the list.
Okay. That's a good way to answer it. That's a fair way of answering it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without committing to saying, yes, absolutely.
Right. Now, Mike, you said that you had some stuff you wanted to dive into. Did you have those, I'm doing the air quotes, scientific explanations of all things ghosts and why such peons like you and I and 70% of the world population have ghostly experiences?
I do have just a simple list.
Yeah.
That and I hate to say that I don't have where this list came from, but it supposedly is 6 possible scientific reasons for ghosts.
Scientific. Yes.
Right. So it's what it's saying. What they're doing is they're trying to, poo-poo it away and say this is why that, and it's not what you think it is. But there are some things here that kind of make me think a little bit what some paranormal activity on a very small scale, low level, could possibly be.
Okay.
Number one, they have low frequency sound.
Okay, elaborate on that one a little bit.
So what I get out of that is, you have a low frequency sound, and it just, you can feel it in your chest. You can feel that vibration, that, lower than what the ear picks up, but you're feeling something. It's making you, making your mind think different things, possibly. I don't know.
Making you uneasy.
Right. And to me, what that reminds me of is what we've talked about before, as far as electromagnetic fields.
Oh yeah.
And what that energy can do. And like I've explained not too long ago to you, that for some reason in my mind, I feel that electromagnetic frequency can do so many things, like make so many things happen. And maybe this is kind of on that same level. Number 2, they say the possibility of mold in your home.
Oh, yep. We've heard of this one before. Yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Black mold.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can just cause any number of hallucinations.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It can definitely cause some very, physical illness.
It can.
type
Yeah.
things, and
We're
who
not.
knows what else.
We're not denying that fact.
Right
there. I mean, it does. I mean,
You know,
it can make people very sick. There's no denying.
yeah.
that.
Right. And the thing is every one of these, possible reasons are legit for causing some kind of a reaction.
Mhm.
Whether it's paranormal, seems paranormal or not, I haven't, I don't know for sure, but carbon monoxide, number 3, it's like a poisoning
Sure.
of,
Yeah.
can you have hallucinations from that? Can
Yep.
you have those dizzy feelings? And I don't know what all the symptoms are of carbon monoxide poisoning, but besides death,
Right. That's a biggie.
um,
Yeah, you don't want to go that far. No. Mm.
carbon monoxide and the big D.
What?
Number 4,
I'm
power
not
of
even-
suggestion.
I'm not even responding to you saying the big D, by the way. So that could go any number of ways.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
Power of suggestion, which is a huge and very powerful thing.
No, it is. Of course it is.
It's, there's no doubt about that. And I'm sure power of suggestion could be an answer to many hauntings and paranormal activity, that it can be brought down to that.
Well, the thing is about the power of suggestion. What is going on in your house right now, Mike, by the way? Are you having
And now I have a blind dachshund eating
Okay.
out of her dish,
Okay.
and the shepherd is a little jealous, I think.
Ah. Now I lost my train of thought here because I heard your.
We were talking about power of suggestion.
Oh yeah, because that is hugely important, especially when one is.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, when one is playing back potential EVPs. The moment you sit there and you tell the person what you think you heard, well, guess what? They're going to hear what you think you heard. You cannot say that. You have to play it blind. You have to play it fair and see what they think first. The power of suggestion is huge.
Right. It's like matrixing. It's like, ooh, look at that. What do you see? Well, I'm not too sure. Well, I see this. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there it is. I see
Same
it.
thing. Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nope. I agree 100%.
Number 5, drafts. Well,
Drafts.
if you go by just the
And we're talking about
cold spot
wind.
thing,
We're not talking about like a writer's draft, his first draft.
Right, exactly. Yes. Yes. Bad insulation and poor windows in your house
See, yeah, these
on a windy day.
no. I love how, I know that scientists always look for the simplest explanation, but come on. Drafts.
That's stretching it a bit. Number 6, we just simply enjoy being afraid.
Oh, come on now. Okay, that's just stupid. Because
It is. It's
how do you
idiocy.
explain people who are terrified and traumatized by their hauntings?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, no.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold any water for me at all.
Yep.
People,
These,
so
if
many
these
people,
are
Mike,
scientific, they're being pulled out of a scientific ass.
they are. Yeah, right. I mean, so many people, Mike, do not want to experience something, and they do.
Right.
It's not like they sit there and I want to be scared.
They have no choice. It's there.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned kind of earlier, well, just a couple minutes ago, the idea of pareidolia, where you see stuff that people, you look at the cloud and like you said, Mike, oh, there's a face. Do you see that right there? There it is. Oh yeah, I see it. So a lot of people are arguing about that being a possible explanation for ghost sightings. I don't buy that at all.
Right.
Especially when people say, like you, where you see a full-fledged flippin' apparition flying in front of you. I mean, what are you mixing that up with? I mean,
yeah.
Was your dad smoking a cigarette? No, your dad wasn't even home when you saw that.
No, I was home all by myself.
And it's not like you
and
saw.
When my mom and dad did get home from I don't know, whatever New Year's Eve party or whatever, and I started telling them about what I had seen, and I didn't start getting excited about it until I started actually talking about it. And then it started kind of building up in my system, like, wow, I really saw this. And my dad, like, the whole generational thing going way back, all he did was, well, did you try to talk to her?
Right. I remember that.
He believed me right away.
He believed you right away.
So yeah, crazy.
I'm flying through another list here of potential explanations, and I don't want to waste people's time. Because you basically nailed it, Mike, generally speaking, about a lot of these scientific attempts at debunking everything that everyone on the planet has experienced. No, you didn't really experience that. I'll tell you what you experienced. You experienced a draft.
Yeah.
You have mold.
Let me tell you, as a scientist, you were not there.
Wow. And a lot of things here, a lot of things that I'm reading, Mike, go figure. They're blaming just people, they're blaming the effects of drugs, the intake of toxic drugs. They're also linking it to dementia. They're linking it to Alzheimer's disease. They're linking it to the effects of over-the-counter drugs. I mean, there's so many things. We've heard how many other arguments, Mike? Sleep paralysis.
They're going to come up with anything to explain except for what we know as a possibility.
Yeah.
Not that we know as a fact, but what we know as a possibility. We are accepting enough to look at those possibilities that go beyond this scientific whatever. But some of these scientific things can have some based in some truth, but
well, of course it is.
Not all of them,
No, I get that, but when it gets to the point of being a scientist, when it gets difficult to discern the difference between a scientist and a pseudo skeptic.
Right.
That's where it starts driving me up the wall.
Yeah.
Because it's like
I suggest any listeners that haven't listened to that episode.
Oh gosh.
When we talked about pseudoscience. Yeah.
Pseudoscientists, pseudo skeptics. We had a fantastic interview with he's a very well-known movie reviewer, especially in the Minnesota area. His name is Mr. Z. That's his kind of code name and stuff. We had a great time talking with Mr. Z.
Oh, we did.
He's a fantastic dude, super smart, but he doesn't believe. He doesn't think there's any such thing as ghosts. And we had a fantastic back and forth debate with him, and it was great. And, and his arguments make sense, and I hope that our rebuttals kind of made sense a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit.
But there's the idea of automatically dismissing anything without one iota of intelligent thought into your dismissal. You just automatically say, no, that's not real. And you say, well, why?
Yep.
Because I don't believe it. Well, why? Just because. Well, tell me why. Why doesn't it exist? Well, it just doesn't, because there's no evidence that it does exist.
Back up your belief.
Back up your belief. Where's the evidence that it doesn't exist? I mean, that's a whole nother episode, Mike, right there. Well, Mike, you know what? I think it's about time to wrap up the content of this show. We need to take one last time traveling excursion here and come back for our of yet undecided one last take. I am looking forward to it. I hope our listeners are too. Hold on, boys and girls. We shall be right back. And we are back after yet another time traveling excursion. Mike, it is time for one last take, my friend. We're going back and forth. We're going back and forth between one last take or one hot take. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
So, but since we did mention one last take before the episode ran out,
it's a last take because it's like toward at the end of our. It's what we're finishing up the episode with.
Of course it is.
But is it more hot than last, or is it more last than hot?
Who knows, man?
Well,
the thing is here, we really want to start off with a bang when it comes to this segment, because it's going to be a recurring segment, and we want it to be intriguing and interesting for all of the listeners. Mike and I have been going back and forth about what episode to start off the Paranomaly Zone era, I'm doing air quotes, era with, what topic to cover. And one of the ones that we had bantered back and forth about was the famous / infamous Travis Walton UFO experience, UFO abduction, alien abduction experience.
And it's been a huge story for years, decades.
Oh my gosh, decades, Mike, decades. And we had gone back and forth about it. And we had discussed it on a prior episode for the Alternate Route podcast. On one of our episodes was focused solely on alien abductions, and we shared some audio interview clips with Travis Walton, and we shared our thoughts about that a little bit. But we didn't really do a dive into it. It's just everything kind of came to fruition, Mike, right now. It just fit perfectly. We quite literally came about this decision during our last time traveling excursion.
Right.
I want to have one last take right now, Mike, about Travis Walton and his alleged UFO / alien abduction, Mike. Now, I'm going to read a couple of the stats here, a couple of the facts, I should say, not stats.
Okay.
This occurred back in 1975. I'm sure most of our listeners are familiar with this. In Snowflake, Arizona, where American forestry worker Travis Walton claims to have been abducted November 5th, 1975. Abducted by an alien spacecraft. Their inhabitants, perhaps I should say, would be the abductees. Not the abductees, the abductors. Controversies ensued, Mike. I want to get the facts right here. Let's see here. Working in the Apache, I'm not sure if I can pronounce that one. Sitgraves.
He's a lumberjack.
Yeah. Along with several,
I'm a lumberjack.
along with several other workers, obviously, working in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in Snowflake, Arizona, where he claimed to have been abducted. Walton was missing for 5 days and 6 hours. After days of searching with scent dogs and helicopters, Walton says he reappeared by the side of a road near Heber, Arizona. The Walton case went on to receive mainstream publicity and remains one of the best-known alien abduction stories, while, of course, scientific skeptics might consider it to be a hoax. Before we get into the details of this, your first memories, Mike, your first takes on this. When you first heard of this, were you an immediate believer?
Well, my first time hearing about it was actually the movie. When I'd seen the movie, I'd seen it many, many years ago.
Fire in the Sky, baby.
Fire in the Sky. Absolutely. It was a awesome movie. A lot of liberties taken with facts and everything, but, for dramatization, but
sure.
Fascinated by the movie. And,
Mike, can I request you to hold the microphone closer to you? Because you're getting a little faded out to me right now, a little bit. Not that close. Not that close. Remove it from your. No, I'm not going to say.
Let's follow you, Okay. How is this?
That's a lot
Yeah,
better.
I don't know. I think I need to check my gain. Maybe I don't know. How's that?
That sounds good, man. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Yeah. I was fascinated by the movie. The
As he moves the microphone further away from him.
Yeah, that's enough of that.
Enough of that. Oh shit.
Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry. You mean this?
Enough of that.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
But I had seen the movie and I was fascinated by it. And then, being a huge Art Bell fan, I never missed an episode of that late night. And the first time I remember hearing Travis Walton on the Art Bell show, it exploded. I mean, hearing his part of the story and what actually happened, it's fascinating. And just to think of if even a part of this is true, it's amazing. It's got to be one of the best abduction stories ever, besides Betty and Barney Hill.
That's
right up with that.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Benny and Barney Hill story, because of course a lot of
Betty.
I said
Benny.
Yeah, I said Benny. Benny Hill. I just made all of our listeners go deaf by my laughter right there. Wouldn't that be funny if it was Benny Hill?
Fine English humor.
Oh my gosh, I just aged myself a little bit there,
And you do remember who played Barney Hill in the movie?
Oh, Mike, you've asked me this before, and darn it, why are you
on.
putting me on the spot?
You're a fan.
Shit. I know I am. Damn it.
The force is strong in this one.
Yeah, I knew
Luke,
it.
I am your father.
Well, it's not. Oh, James Earl Jones, of course. God damn it. Frickin' A.
And Betty was played by Estelle Parsons.
Whew. Okay, let's briefly.
Anyway, I digress.
Let's briefly run through the abduction claims here, because we need to get to our takes, Mike.
We do.
Now, again, according to Travis, on November 5th, 1975, he was working with the timber stand improvement crew in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. Now, while riding in a truck with 6 of his coworkers, they encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering over the ground approximately 110 feet away, making a very high-pitched buzz. And when I'm reading this, I'm picturing the movie. They did that part pretty well. I don't think it was 6 people in the car. I think it was only like 5 people in the car, but I could be wrong. In the movie, that is. Walton claims that after he left the truck and approached the object, a beam of light suddenly appeared from the craft and knocked him unconscious. Now, this is where I start questioning things. Why would you get out at that point? The way the movie, that was
my first thought when you were reading that.
The way the movie depicted it, everyone was screaming at Travis. And again, Travis says the movie is wrong in a lot of the portrayals, and I'm sure it is.
I'm sure.
If they were screaming at him, first and foremost, why wouldn't someone run out of the car and grab him and pull him back into the damn truck?
Because there is a great big flying saucer out there, and they didn't want to mess with it.
That's true. That's very, very true. But
Fear kept them in their truck.
The way that the movie portrayed Travis's character was that he was he was a free spirit, and he was ready to just take on anything and anything and everything, and the world was just an open book for him to tackle. And so, therefore, he sees this fire in the sky as his coworkers did, and while everyone else was terrified, he just wanted to go closer to it.
Right.
That's how the movie portrayed it.
I can almost kind of relate to that.
Yeah, I get that. I can picture you, Mike, doing that. It's like, nope, just go along your business. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, right.
So the beam of light.
Hurt me.
The beam of light knocked Travis unconscious. The other 6 men were frightened, drove away. Walton claimed that he awoke in a hospital-like room being observed by 3 short, bald creatures. He claimed that he fought with them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room where he blacked out as 3 other humans put a clear plastic mask over his face. Walton has claimed he remembers nothing else until he found himself walking along a highway 5 days later with the flying saucer departing above him. Mike, the idea of humans, what he remembers are humans and short, bald, quote-unquote, creatures.
Well,
What's
they
going
were
on there?
human-like. They were humanoid.
Okay.
I'm sure they weren't people born and raised in Iowa.
So, well, so
know.
you're not thinking that there's anything in cahoots here with
There
humans and
obviously
aliens?
could be, but I don't know. Well, anything's possible.
Okay, so that being said, before we wrap it up here, Mike, your take, particularly on I'm taken aback by this claim here that he says he fought with them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room where he blacked out as 3 other humans put a clear plastic mask over his face. That's what grabs me.
Right. Well, what kind of a helmet was it? I mean, was it a great big Rick Moranis giant helmet? You know, or
Mr. Coffee. Yeah. All that stuff.
or was it like a military helmet?
Hmm.
God, you know, it's
in the movie they portray it as it's so obviously it's so much more dramatized, and he's floating in this giant cavernous a canyon essentially, and there's
and I remember being very dirty,
and
he
slimy.
he breaks in, and that when he gets out of his pod and he falls into that other one where there's like a half rotted body in there, you know.
Yeah, exactly. His hands are in there, and he realizes that his hands are dug into
Why
the.
am I dripping with goo? Basically, that's what it was.
That's exactly what it was. And he's floating around. He's like an astronaut, and he's floating, and he comes across. Again, we're speaking about the movie here. He comes across all of these floating. What he even says out loud in the movie. He says space suits. He comes across all these like attached astronaut looking I guess uniforms, space outfits, and
they look like gray.
They look like aliens. They look like gray aliens. Right. Until one like sneaks up from behind him because he thinks that they're all empty and stuff, but one sneaks up from behind him in the movie and grabs him, and then they drag him down the hallway, all this dirty hallway, and through these tunnels.
And there's like glasses from the 50s floating and
right. Yep. I mean, dramatization.
Yeah, it's like they've been doing this for a long time.
Right. So right there's major discrepancies between the movie and his claims. Okay, Mike. The idea that he is doing this for money. Now, in the days following Walton's UFO claim, the National Enquirer awarded Walton and his coworkers a $5,000 prize for quote-unquote best UFO case of the year, as they all passed polygraph tests administered by the Enquirer, but also by the Aerial Phenomena Research Association.
Mm-hmm.
Walton and his older brother and mother were described by the Navajo County, Arizona sheriff as longtime students of UFOs. Now, some ufologists believe Walton was abducted by aliens. Ufologist Jim Ledwith says for 5 days the authorities, the authorities thought he'd been murdered by his coworkers, and then he was returned.
Mm-hmm.
All of the coworkers who were there, who saw the spacecraft, they all took polygraph tests, and they all passed except for one, and that one was inconclusive. That was like the Dallas character.
Yeah.
In the movie. I think
the
it's
one that didn't like him or something like that, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah. They had words.
And they do kind of briefly mention that in the movie James Garner's character is the investigator, and he comes
You know,
across.
it's got to be good when you got Rockford on this
Oh,
on the
gosh.
case.
What a great actor! What a great actor! But
Rockford Files,
he
James
comes
Garner.
across essentially the National Enquirer in the back seat of the car, and he asks the local sheriff. He says, "Now, where in the heck could these boys conjure up such a story?" And he hands them the National Enquirer, which they were all reading in the movie on the way to their logging camp before they
Right.
started doing all this. Okay, Mike,
Hmm.
where are you at right now? Thinking about this.
Sitting at my podcast.
You know what I'm
desk in
saying, dude. You know what I'm talking
North
about.
Dakota, rural. Where am I with the story?
Yes. Before I get
You know,
into the skeptical reception of it, I want your
Right.
opinions.
you know, Travis Walton has been, he's been living off of this for many, many years, decades, still is. Which, if you have something that is so fantastic that happens to you and so bizarre, that is a huge story. If you're not well off, you might want to make money off of your experience.
Ooh, Mike, you're worrying me with what you are suggesting right
No,
now.
I'm not saying he's in it for the money, but I hope he's not, because you have reached out to him to be on our show.
I have.
And I hope he doesn't say, yeah, well, just, we got a little bit of a fee here. But I think something happened. I think it's legit. You have to just you just have to really sift through the wheat from the chaff. You know what I mean? I mean, there's like so much truth and there's so much dramatization. I mean, and movies are going to do that. They have to do that.
Of
Otherwise,
course they have to
they're
do
not.
that.
They're going to be nothing.
No, you have to do your own research. You
Right.
know, take in all the dramatizations, take in the pop culture references, listen to the interviews, do your
Right.
due diligence and make your own decision. That's all you can
Right.
do.
And the thing is that Travis Walton himself will say, no, the movie, that didn't happen that way.
Right.
He explains how it happened, which is, less dramatic than the movie, but still
And he hasn't
extremely
wavered.
terrifying.
He hasn't wavered
He
from
doesn't waver for decades. Hasn't wavered.
Yeah.
And
And that is something you have to think about that for a second. If you
Right.
are if it is a pure fabrication and it is a pure lie, it is really tough to maintain that lie over the
Right.
decades.
Yeah.
And maintain all the same details. It just is, man. If you're
Absolutely.
lying about something, your story is going to change. It's just it's human nature. It's going to. You know why? Because it didn't happen, and it's not embedded in your memory. It's just conjured up in your mind, and you're going to conjure up other details.
Yeah, it gets mixed up, and you can't keep it straight. Like 3 years after the incident happened, he did write a book, and I'm sure he's made money off of that. But there can be reasons he wrote that book. Set the story straight. People are asking questions. Get the whole story out there the way he lived it and the way he experienced it. And there is nothing wrong with making money, doing that and telling the truth. It's an opportunity.
No, I agree.
And,
I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, why not?
Absolutely. I mean, if something happened to me, like if I, was swimming in, Lake Superior and a mermaid came up to me and we had a family of mermaid children, I would write a book about that. And hey, if I made money off it, hey.
Well, if you made money off the book and then people came to you and said, we don't necessarily believe you, but we're willing to give you a healthy paycheck to make a movie out of that, you're going to probably say, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And where did the movie come from? Where did the book come from? Where did all the publicity come from? Where did all the everything that up to today. Where did it come from? How did it start?
Yeah.
By Travis Walton being abducted for 5 days, and whatever happened.
Now we
had to start somewhere.
Now skeptics consider this to be a hoax, obviously, Mike. They describe it as quote unquote sensationalization on the part of the media and a put up job to make money. UFO researcher Philip Klass, I knew Mike would react to that and considered Walton's story to be a hoax perpetrated for financial gain, and discovered many discrepancies in the accounts of Walton and his co-workers. After investigating the case, Klass reported that the polygraph tests were poorly administered, that Walton used polygraph countermeasures, I'm doing air quotes, such as holding his breath, and that Klass uncovered an earlier failed test administered by an examiner who concluded the case involved gross deception. First off, polygraph tests are okay.
They're not admissible in court even.
Thank you, Mike, because that's what I was going to get at. I was about ready to describe them as something horrible, but court doesn't buy them. So if it has to go both ways here. If they're not admissible in court, then why are they considered legitimate proof when you are arguing against what the person is saying anyways? Are you following?
Right, exactly.
If you're following me, I hope you get me. They're not admissible, but I think that this guy is lying, so therefore, I mean, it's such a mess. You can't go both ways with these damn polygraph tests.
Yeah, it's like, people like Philip Klass, which, makes my bowels turn whenever I hear his
I could
name.
see your face. You look like you're pinching your butthole the moment I said his name.
Yep. Everything that is said, that is, even if it has proof behind it and eyewitnesses that have sworn affidavits, he would still say, nope, I don't believe it, so it's not real.
Now, science and skepticism writer Michael Shermer criticized Walton's claims, saying, quote, I think the polygraph is not a reliable determiner of truth, which we both agree on.
Right.
But then he says, I think Travis Walton was not abducted by aliens. In both cases, the power of deception and self-deception is all we need to understand what really happened in 1975 and after.
So there was 5 days of self-deception.
5 days of self-deception. And
that cannot be explained.
And 6 coworkers who were all self-decepted. Cognitive psychologist Susan Clancy argues that alien abduction reports began only, Mike, listen to this, began only after stories of extraterrestrials appeared in films and on TV, and that Walton was likely influenced by the NBC television movie The UFO Incident, which aired 2 weeks before his own claimed abduction and dramatized the alien abduction claims of Barney and Betty Hill. There you go.
And that woman is Philip Klass's stepdaughter.
So, I'll stop reading shit because we have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Your final thoughts, Mike, on the Travis Walton experience. We are both so... Well, it fires me up. I know it fires you up.
It does. Something happened. Something extraterrestrial happened. He was changed dramatically, which has put him on this lifelong passion of what he's doing and talking about and still talking about to this day. Like I told you earlier, I was listening to a podcast the other night when I went to bed, going to sleep, listening to a podcast, and he was on there talking about his experience. Still, if it's fake, how many decades can you milk it?
And
it would be done long before now.
Can I interject for 1 second as well, Mike, along the same lines that we mentioned earlier? He is adamant about the discrepancies between the movie and his experience. So,
and
Now explain that
adds
to
credence
me.
For me,
Explain that to me. If is he just a very good actor who was throwing that out there and saying, well, if I act like I disagree with how the movie portrayed it, then it adds legitimacy to my story? Or is it truly bothering him and saying like, no, that didn't happen. This is my story is
him because it's like putting words into somebody's mouth.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that would bother all of us.
Right.
It drives
and
you
on
nuts.
Wikipedia and some of these other things that you Google about him, it describes him as an actor.
But
he wasn't wasn't an actor when this all happened, but he has had things that he's done since then that are like acting in other
gigs.
situations like this.
Yeah. Well, the same thing is, Mike, if you look up Zach Bagans, he's listed as like an actor.
Absolutely.
And
it's personality, a TV movie personality.
Yeah.
I mean, it just comes with what he's done. I mean, yeah. And what he's been through.
Okay.
And where he's been seen.
Mike, the hot take though, the last take on the Travis Walton UFO abduction experience. My hot last take, because we don't know if we're going to say last or hot.
Mm-hmm. Or both.
This is tough for me to say it, Mike. It is.
Okay.
And I'm not playing the obnoxious skeptic.
Okay.
I really am not.
Although you do that so well.
My gut feeling, my hot take is that it's real.
That it is real?
Yes. I truly believe that Travis experienced something that he cannot. I mean, he knows what happened to him now.
Right.
They couldn't explain it back then. My gut feeling is that a UFO frickin' picked him up in Snowflake, Arizona back in 1975, Mike. How about you?
Well, and in this segment that we do, this last hot take, we have to have the last hot take from both of us. It can be differing opinions or it can be matching opinions. My last hot take on the Travis Walton story is there are discrepancies. There are fallacies. There are, I didn't say phallic C's.
No, thank you for not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, Travis Walton adamantly defends what is real and what happened and what did not happen. And in my hot take, I do agree with you that something did happen. He was gone for 5 days. His co-workers were accused of murdering him and leaving him somewhere.
Murdering him, yes.
And he came back and he had one hell of a story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Once he got it figured out for himself.
Yep.
So yes, something happened. It's real.
I'm waiting, but you didn't say anything about UFO, Mike.
Oh, well, I'll say it. Something not of this world came down, zapped the shit out of him right in the chest.
Yep.
Knocked him back about 40 feet.
Yep.
And collected him up and did who God knows what.
And I will say that the way that the movie portrayed that incident, I really think they did it well because the logical mind says, why would they allow him to walk out there while they're screaming at him? I get it. Everyone's terrified. You're not thinking straight. It's a panic. It's a mass panic. And you're watching your friend walk out to this massive glowing light in the sky. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. So I think the movie portrayed that scenario pretty well. Yeah. I personally wouldn't jump out of the car, Mike, and walk to that thing, but you would. I think you would.
I would. I might be hiding behind bushes along the way.
Okay. Oh, sure.
But I would.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, that's why we need Travis Walton on the show, and let him tell us, let him tell our listeners.
Yep.
You know, what was that whole thought process when you got out of the truck?
That's what I want to know.
Looking up in this fire in the sky.
Oh, perfect, Mike. Well, this has been freaking fantastic, Mike. We need to wrap it up. This is going super long, but it's great and it's worth it. This is essentially our first Paranormal Zone. Well, it is our Paranormal Zone debut episode, a restart, a refresher from the Alternate Route podcast. We can't thank all of our awesome listeners enough, and new listeners. I hope you stick around because it's only going to get better and better. We promise.
And we do have the different varieties. We have the lot of information with comedy, and there's always going to be comedy. There's always going to be levity with the great information we have.
Absolutely.
There's going to be some episodes where it's more comedy, like our throwbacks that we do, which I think we're about ready for another one.
I think so too.
You know, and those are a lot of fun.
Well, for Patreon, I think we should do that.
And the Patreon, yeah, absolutely. And the wonderful, fantastic celebrity guests that we have on, they're all worth it. You know,
more and more lined up. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. We just want to grab you, you know, and tie you up and bring you in and keep you.
That was creepy, Mike. That was really, really creepy, but that's cool. Yeah. No, we have other segments, I shouldn't say segments, but genres that we dive into. We love doing horror specials. Horror, two syllables right there.
Yep.
We love diving into all things mysteries. We do have the old Sick and Twisted segments that we.
Oh yeah, those get pretty
they
deep.
get intense and very sick and twisted, and we're not going to divulge, or we're not going to go away from that. I should say. I was messing up my words, but anyways, Mike. Before I ramble on too much longer, this was awesome. Our first Paranormal Zone episode exclusive. Many more to come. Mike, can't thank you enough, my friend. Until next time, what do all of our listeners need to do?
Well, let's see. Sometimes I like to do this, and then sometimes I don't. But usually at the end of a podcast like this, peace out.